Hello and welcome, and in today's video I am going to tell you about a young Swiss missionary who attempted to kill Hitler. This assassination attempt on Hitler is not very well known, and it was done by somebody called Maurice Bavaud, and he was born on the 15th of January 1916 in Neuchâtel. He was the firstborn son of a postal worker, Alfred Bavaud, and his wife, Helene Bavaud Steiner. He grew up in Neuchâtel alongside 5 younger siblings. After attending a private Catholic school and being recognized as being musically gifted, he completed an apprenticeship as a draftsman at his father's urging. Well, this makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, you can't really make money from music. He subsequently enrolled at a Catholic high school attached to the seminary of Saint-Ilon near Saint-Brieuc in Brittany, where he trained as a missionary with the Père du Saint-Esprit. That's an order, a monastic order, and the intention was probably from there to go to Africa. After 3 years of study, however, Bavaud abruptly abandoned his training. He returned to Switzerland in 1938, and he was then aged 22. It's not known when he decided he was going to assassinate Hitler, but he'd already discussed such a plan with a friend in France, Marcel Guéboré. Now, Marcel was French, and this must have happened during the time at the French boarding school. By the autumn of 1938, Bavaud had resolved to act. On the 9th of October 1938, he travelled to Germany, and following reports in the press, he stayed alternatively in Munich and Berchtesgaden in an attempt to ambush Hitler. He was armed with a 6.35mm Schmeisser pistol. After numerous failed attempts to approach his target, Bavaud decided to act on the 9th of November 1938 during the annual commemoration march to the Feldherrnhalle in Munich, which marked the anniversary of the failed Hitler putsch. And it was that night that Kristallnacht was launched. Now, I've done various videos on Kristallnacht, but just imagine, had this attack succeeded, then Kristallnacht and what happened after it mightn't have happened at all. So Bavaud disguised himself as an enthusiastic National Socialist. He obtained a place in the spectators' VIP stand. He concealed a pistol in his coat pocket, having previously used it for target practice in woodland areas. Although he managed to get a seat in the front row, the assassination attempt failed. Hitler was heavily protected by the SA. He was too far away as he passed, and Bavaud's line of sight was obstructed by spectators raising their arms in their Hitler salute. In the days that followed, Bavaud made further unsuccessful attempts to get close to Hitler. He then abandoned his plan and attempted to get back to Paris by train. Having said that, he abandoned his plan probably because he ran out of money, and he didn't have enough money to buy a train ticket. And so there was a ticket control, didn't have a ticket, and this led to him being held by the ticket inspector, and somehow the police must have got involved as well. So this led to him being arrested, and at the time of his arrest he had his gun on him, and he also had incriminating documents. As a foreigner, he was automatically handed over to the Gestapo. Bavaud claimed that he was merely a gun enthusiast and that his offence was limited to fare evasion. The Gestapo initially seemed to have accepted this, and it transferred him to a district court in Augsburg, and on the 6th of December 1938 he was sentenced to 2 months and 1 week in prison for ticket fraud and carrying a weapon without authorization. However, the Gestapo had a look at some of the documentation he was carrying on him, and it was from that they learned that they were dealing with an attempted assassination of Hitler. At the end of January 1939, Bavaud was interrogated continuously, in fact, for a week in Augsburg prison. So they managed to get a confession out of him, and from there he was transferred to Berlin, and he was placed under the jurisdiction of the People's Court. His imprisonment was kept entirely secret. Information concerning assassination attempts against the Führer were suppressed in order to prevent copycat attacks and to preserve Hitler's cultivated public image. Bavaud's family initially had no knowledge of his whereabouts, and the Swiss embassy was not informed of the true situation of the case until the end of 1939. Letters written by Bavaud were either withheld or delivered only sporadically. So there was a secret trial before the People's Court on the 18th December 1939. Bavaud stated that his motive for attempting to kill Hitler was that he regarded him as a threat to humanity, to the independence of Switzerland, and to the Roman Catholic Church in Germany. Throughout the proceedings, Bavaud was effectively abandoned by the Swiss diplomatic service and the federal political department of the Swiss Foreign Ministry. The Swiss ambassador in Berlin, Hans Fröhlicher, described the assassination plan in correspondence with his superiors as despicable and refused to provide normal consular assistance. As a result, Bavaud was forced to accept a court-appointed defense lawyer selected by German authorities. Now, Hans Fröhlicher was certainly a Nazi sympathizer to a large extent. He looks a bit like Goebbels, actually, if you just look at photographs of him. Hard to believe that such people think themselves that belong to a superior race. I would say that Hans Fröhlicher, like Goebbels, does look like a member of the primate order, but not necessarily a Homo sapiens. Anyway, that apart. Now, whereas Hans Fröhlicher gave Bavaud no assistance whatsoever, a completely different situation arose with the lawyer. He got a court-appointed lawyer, Franz Vallot. He absolutely unexpectedly and really unusually, and with extreme courage, I'd have to say, mounted a vigorous defense and demanded his client's acquittal. This obviously was to the displeasure of the Second Senate of the People's Court. This was headed by its vice president, Karl Engert, who was also a SS Oberführer. Following the trial, Engert attempted unsuccessfully to have Vallot disbarred, and whereas that attempt failed, Vallot was expelled from the National Socialist Lawyers Association, imprisoned for a period by the Gestapo, and as a result, he suffered permanent damage to his health as a result of this incarceration. So at the beginning of December 1939, Swiss diplomats in Berlin were unaware of either the date of the trial of the charges. On the 4th of January 1940, Fröhlicher informed the Swiss Foreign Ministry that he'd learned that the trial had taken place and that a death sentence had been imposed. This information wasn't passed on to Bavaud's family. Alfred Bavaud, his father, despite his repeated requests for news and assistance, knew nothing. Indeed, Alfred Bavaud, the father, learned of the death sentence only from a letter written by his son on the 10th of June 1940, so 6 months later. His subsequent proposal to exchange Maurice Bavaud for a German saboteur imprisoned in Switzerland was rejected by both the Swiss Foreign Ministry and the Federal Military Department. Requests for information about his son's conditions were met with assurances that Switzerland was doing everything possible, despite internal communications indicating otherwise. On the 9th of January 1940, legation councillor Kappeler had already informed German officials that Switzerland wouldn't intervene and would not request clemency for Bavaud. In consequence, German authorities saw no reason to inform Swiss diplomats of Bavaud's execution, which took place on the 14th of May 1941. Alfred Bavaud learned of his son's fate from a farewell letter received on the 7th of June 1941, in which Maurice Bavaud announced his imminent execution. During his imprisonment, Bavaud initially claimed that his actions had been encouraged by Marcel Goebbels. Now, Bavaud was in any case aware of the planned assassination attempt of the 9th of November 1938. After the German occupation of France, he went underground. He must have thought or realized that the Gestapo were after him, and so he tried to evade them. He did this successfully, but only until the 1st of January 1942, and when he was picked up, and then he himself was later tried, sentenced to death, and on the 1st of January 1943, the first anniversary of his arrest, he was sentenced to death. He was beheaded on the 9th of April 1943 at Berlin-Plötzensee. So post-war efforts by Alfred Bavaud to overturn his son's conviction initially resulted in a ruling by the Berlin Regional Court on 21st of October 1955, which posthumously reduced the sentence to 5 years imprisonment and 5 years loss of civil rights. And I'm sure that would have cheered him up no end, given the fact that his son had been executed all those years earlier. The court stated that Hitler's life was to be regarded as legally protected in the same manner as any other human life, and that criminal law recognized no justification for killing a dictator. On appeal, however, both this decision and the original People's Court verdict were overturned by the higher regional court on the 27th of January 1956, which ruled that no punishable attempt had occurred, only preparatory acts. The Federal Republic of Germany subsequently awarded compensation of 40,000 Swiss francs to Bavaud's surviving relatives. For many years, the case was largely forgotten, but it actually came up again where there was a film called Esses Kalten Brandenburg, and that's got I can't remember who was in it now. Somebody's in it. Anyway, but then it was actually published in a number of works as a result of this film. In 1989 and again in 1998, the Swiss Federal Council publicly acknowledged that Swiss authorities had failed to provide adequate support to Bavaud between 1938 and 1941. On the 70th anniversary of his assassination attempt in 2008, of the assassination attempt in 2008, National Councillor Paul Rechsteiner submitted a motion calling for a further official statement. Federal President Pascal Couchepin responded on the 7th of November 2008 with a written declaration published by the Neue Zürcher Zeitung under the headline "Couchepin commemorates Hitler assassin Maurice Bavaud," in which he stated that from today's perspective the Swiss authorities had done too little and that Bavaud had likely foreseen the catastrophe that Hitler would bring upon the world. Indeed, but Bavaud didn't actually kill Hitler, so he was not so much an assassin as a would-be assassin. On the 13th of May 2011, the 70th anniversary of Bavaud's death, the University of Neuchâtel hosted a Maurice Bavaud symposium, and a memorial was inaugurated at Hauterive on the 9th of November 2013, so 75th anniversary of the failed assassination attempt, coinciding of course with the 75th anniversary of Kristallnacht. Commemorative event was held in Munich, organised by the Maurice Bavaud Committee, the Georg Elser Memorial in Königsbrunn, and the Bavarian State Office for Political Education. Amongst those present were Maurice Bavaud's brother Adrien and Swiss parliamentarian Paul Rechsteiner. In 2013, Zurich Green councillor Simon Kerlin campaigned unsuccessfully for a public square in Zurich to be named after Bavaud. So, so that's the story of the Swiss would-be assassin of Hitler. Worth noticing that Elsner did actually use the same date for his attempt to get rid of the dictator 1 year later. So I hope you found that interesting. I've done lots of videos related to Hitler and other things related to Nazi Germany, particularly on the Holocaust. I upload every day at 2000 hours, and on Tuesdays and Fridays I do longer videos. It's usually a documentary style video. Sometimes it might be me just talking to the camera directly like this, and sometimes I also do lives as well. And so longer videos on the Tuesdays and on the Fridays, and there's usually a premiere for them. And if you attend the premiere, you can talk in real time with me and other users, and I do try to be present at the premiere wherever possible. I also offer membership of the channel. Membership costs £5, €6 or $6, and that'll give you access to more than 800 videos which are for members only. Sometimes they have to be for members only because I've had all sorts of problems with YouTube. There's these fake copyright claims. I get videos taken down for absolutely no reason. Indeed, a friend of mine who also got his own channel got a strike for putting up a bibliography. I mean, that is absolutely horrendous, and it shows the lengths to which YouTube is going to censor real history at the same time as it is promoting AI slop, which is just regurgitated from these programs which can automatically generate videos. So that's some of the difficulties that I face doing genuine researched history. So anyway, so that's a little bit of my opinion there. Little rant at the end of this one. So all the best from me. On the big assassination attempt on Hitler of the 20th of July 1945, I've done a number of videos on that. So I find this thing, actually the whole thing about the German resistance, particularly fascinating. Anyway, all the best. Bye for now.